Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a look at the new Masters of the Universe Battle Armor He-Man figure. This is a deluxe figure that comes as part of the third wave officially, though it kind of releases in its own assortment. And it releases alongside the Battle Armor Skeletor toy because, they complement each other. And these Battle Armor figures are pretty neat because they have this rotating chest area right here that can display different levels of battle damage, from no damage to one big cut to two big gashes there. So, really fun little play pattern. And then outside of the chest area, the rest of the figure is just like your standard He-Man toys. So, they're more of an update to the original toys than whole new figures. But this being a deluxe figure comes with a lot of extra accessories that a normal size MOTU toy doesn't. You get an extra closed-fisted hand so he can dual wield his sword and his axe. Speaking of, he's got an axe, a sword, and then his sword of power is that half sword piece that comes with the original He-Man that's meant to be combined with the purple version that comes with the Skeletor toy. So you can use regular Skeletors, Battle Armor Skeletors, doesn't matter, they're all the same. He also gets an alternate head, which is styled after his vintage He-Man toy head. So it's kind of got a different facial structure, shorter hair, something that more reminiscent of the original 80s toy. And then he has this really cool energy effect thing that you can slide over the combined sword if you get that. And luckily I do have the Skeletor, so we'll be able to show that off. That's neat. It's also interesting to point out that there are apparently two different variants of this toy. There's the one that I have right here, which I guess I would consider the standard variant. And then there's another one that seems to be more rare. And I don't have anything official on this, but from what I've read, the difference is that on the packaging, the other one actually says He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, which is really weird because that's the name of the original show, but not the original toy line. So why that popped up there, I don't know. But then there's differences with the figures themselves. Specifically, the other variant has orange paint on the laces or straps of the boot, has a much duller gray armor than this more metallic one, and then his bracers and belt are done up in a lighter orange. Again, this is purely what I've read online, so don't take that as gospel. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, that does appear to be the case. Anywho, if you've seen my reviews before, you know this goes. We're going to take a look at He-Man's packaging. We'll open it up, we'll check out his mini comic there. He should come with a little instruction book just showing you how to do the whole combined sword thing and all that. And then we'll see the He-Man toy itself, check out, the posability, check out his different accessories and all that. Naturally, I'll be doing some group shots and comparisons today, and then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So He-Man comes in your expanded deluxe figure set packaging. So it's a lot like the original, but it's just stretched further to the right or left, depending on your perspective, so that it can store the extra accessories. Up here, you got some pretty nice artwork of the character. You get the toy line name, Battle Armor He-Man's a toy's name. Still carries the title of Most Powerful Man in the Universe. They alter his title a little bit, so instead of Most Powerful Man in the Universe, it's Most Powerful Armor in the Universe, so I see what they did there. Then we turn this around, and you get your always awesome artwork across the top. Let me get rid of that glare for you. So you can see He-Man in some kind of a swamp-like setting, and he's dual-wielding his sword and his axe. And you see he's locked in combat against Merman, who's actually taken a chunk out of his armor there, and you can see, to show off the whole battle damage effect. Then you get Man-at-Arms just kind of standing at the ready in the background, trying to help out He-Man. And then, of course, we got some flavor text on the top that reads, He-Man storms into battle protected by the mighty battle armor that was crafted by Man-at-Arms. So, it does make sense. Man-at-Arms is the guy that crafts a lot of the equipment for our heroic warriors. Then over here, you get your action feature callouts. Tells you to roll the drum down with your thumb until no dents appear. And you strike the armor, a dent shows. Then you strike again, and 2 dents show. Wow. Repeat step 1 to repair. So pretty cool. Then, of course, we get our cross cells over here, and you get quite a few. You get the Battle Armor He-Man and the Battle Armor Skeletor. Then you also get She-Ra and Roboto, along with Zodak and Clamp Champ. They even throw in a call out to Battle Cat, who was released last year. Then on the evil side, we already mentioned Skeletor. You also get Merman and then Panther, who released in 2021. So a lot of cool stuff going on here. Nice bit of packaging artwork as always. Now it's time to open this up and see everything this guy can do. Right here, we get our first Wave 3 comic, and it's all about our Battle Armor He-Man Skeletor. It's called Battle Armor Reborn. And you look at it, you got Clamp Champ, Man-at-Arms, and the King going for a stroll. They get attacked by some robots. And then we see He-Man getting his little Battle Armor upgrade. Ram Man shows up to fight. They're all just kind of giving the robots what for. Skeletor shows up with his armor upgrade. Looks like all hope is lost. And then He-Man charges in, ready to duel Skeletor, and beats him because, you know, it's He-Man. We also, surprisingly, and this is something that started with Wave 3 and has continued onward, get some form of instructions for this toy. Now, the universal thing on these instructions is showing you what parts are removable. So the head can pop off, the hands can be popped off, which, you know, in a lot of cases they come with alternate hands, so you'll do that fairly often. You can pop the feet off at like the boot line here, and then you can even pop the waist apart. And this might be a little misleading. You're not ripping his legs out, you don't want to pull those out, but the little pelvic area does separate from the torso very easily. So it does enable you to, you know, customize, mix and match your toys. So pretty much every figure from Wave 3 onward gets something like this. Then on the back, specific to this toy, we show you, or the instructions show you how to insert his half of a power sword into this special little like glow effect that the set includes. And then you can combine it with Skeletor's half sword and then insert the combined sword into that glow effect. And personally, I'd recommend only doing it when you have them combined, because the half swords are very flimsy, and I feel like the weight of this big old clear yellow thing might start bending them over time. Just something to think about. If you don't have Skeletor, though, and you're really anxious to use this effect, you can use it if you so desire. Now we can finally see Battle Armor He-Man himself, along with the loadout of his accessories. So on He-Man, you can see him rocking his half of a power sword, as well as his axe on the back, and he comes with the stock hand, which is the open hand, which is accurate to the original toy. His head is the more modernized head, and it's just kind of a variation of the one that came on the Wave 1 He-Man. So it's kind of got the fuller hair look to it, which is, you know, a little more in keeping with the cartoon, but this time he has more of a yelling face. As far as the accessories, you can also see here's his more closed hand, so he can dual wield his weapons if he wants. Your little glowy effect, and the vintage head, which looks almost exactly like the one that came on the vintage He-Man toys, including the vintage Battle Armor He-Man. So you do get a lot of customization options with this toy. Now, as far as the figure itself, that Battle Armor gimmick, the way it works is you basically just tap it. It's spring-loaded. You have to like wind it up. So the fully wound position is an undamaged chest plate, but if you tap it once, it spins to this singular, you know, cut mark. Hit it again, he gets 2, and that's as far as it goes, and that's his like fully damaged appearance. So it's a really, really neat feature, and it works very well. It doesn't get hung up or anything, and something that is pretty unique. I personally have not seen this feature implemented in another toy, like not this exact way, where it's kind of a spring-loaded wind-up battle damage thing. So I find that really, really cool. Okay, now we can do a little bit of customizing. So we have all these fun little parts here. So the first thing I want to do is swap out his head. Move this axe so I don't just squeeze it while I'm pulling the head off. There you go. It's on there pretty tight. All right. So there we get the vintage inspired head, which personally I prefer. You know, Origins is supposed to be kind of a recreation of the vintage line, so I like the Origins toys to look as close to the originals as possible. So this configuration right here is what you would get if you were going for vintage accuracy. The only thing that's really off, aside from the inherent mold changes for posability and the wristbands, is the fact that this toy does come with the half power sword, and the original Battle Armor He-Man actually came with a full power sword. They had already dropped that whole combining sword gimmick. So why this time around they kept the half sword gimmick going, even though the original toy didn't have it, I couldn't say. I will say that the later released Battlefield Warriors like special version of this guy does have the singular sword. So in that way, he's more accurate. It's honestly all just very weird. Like, they seem to mix and match accuracies between different releases of these figures, and it's an odd choice. I'm not really sure why they do what they do. But since we do have this half sword, let's go ahead and combine it with Skeletor's half, which I have right here. Purple and a little on the sparkly side. So go ahead, put it together, and now he gets a more complete power sword that fits better in his hand and can better support the weight of his yellow glow effect. So there's that. Pop the open hand off, swap it out with a more closed one. Not fully closed, but weapon holding hand. That'll enable him to dual wield his axe. So it makes him very cool and dangerous looking. Looks great that way right there. And then we can attach his glow effect. Just go ahead and plug it on. So it goes all the way down. I can't remember which way is the best way. I think it's this way, to where it goes like down toward the hilt. All right. Now I will warn you, the glow effect is rather heavy. And he is strong enough to hold it up, but it will make him pretty front heavy. So be aware of how you pose him and how you balance that weight out. See, right now I'm even having a hard time keeping him up. There you go. And you also want to pose it in a way to where it's not putting a ton of undue stress on these very flimsy little swords, because it weighs a great deal more than they do. But now that we have this, I gotta say, he looks awesome. Like, even though configuring him in this way does take some liberties from the initial vintage design, it is a really good way to spruce him up and make him look much more dangerous in combat than he would be only wielding one weapon at a time. So I dig it, even if it's not fully accurate. Now here's our group shot with the Wave 1 He-Man, just your plain vanilla He-Man. And you can see that aside from the torso piece, they're really pretty much the same toy. Now they do utilize some slightly different heads. Here is the alternate head for this guy, so you can see how close it is to the original. So basically the same head with a different face. Though, like I said, I prefer the original look. Now, one thing you can do, if you want to be, I guess, a little purist about your Wave 1 He-Man, you could always use this head and put it on that guy and, let this guy use either this one or the other one he comes with. It's really up to you. One thing that I like about these extra accessories that you start seeing from Wave 3 onward in your, deluxe figures and box sets and all that, is that you get a lot of options, not just for the figure itself, but for other figures if you're more of a completionist type collector. So this guy's multiple swappable parts can even benefit regular He-Man, right? You can use this more closed left hand on your regular He-Man if you want him to dual wield. There's all sorts of things you do. You can put this little glow effect on this He-Man's, doubled up sword. You get a lot of possibilities, and that's, one of the fun things about this line. Now, another fun group shot. The original Battle Armor He-Man wasn't just available as a single toy, it was actually part of a gift set along with Battle Cat, much like the regular He-Man toy was. So I felt getting a group shot of him riding Battle Cat was appropriate, just to tickle some of that nostalgia feels for you guys. And being almost exactly like the original He-Man, sans his torso area, he rides Battle Cat very well. Now, if you're eager to recreate the 2-pack, this would be very easy to do because Battle Cat has been readily available the entire time Origins has been around. He's one of those toys that just gets restocked over and over again. Though, if you don't already have Battle Cat, and you're looking at picking up this new Battle Armor He-Man, it may be in your interest to seek out the Target exclusive 2-pack of these guys that came out more recently than these particular figures. And that's that Battlefield Warriors 2-pack I mentioned earlier. They're basically just a battle-damaged redo of these two. They both have little, cut-like paint marks on their bodies. The chest armor on the He-Man is chromed silver instead of this kind of darker metal-like paint. And then the armor on Battle Cat's more metallic-looking. Plus, they come with a really cool little base that you can display them on, and little gargoyles that you can use to flesh out your Castle Grayskull. So that one definitely has a lot more going for it. It trades out the half power sword for a full version and gets rid of the glowing accessory, replaces it with the classic shield from the regular He-Man release. So it's not a one-for-one swap. Overall, you are getting more in the 2-pack, but you're not going to get everything that comes with this one. They probably did that on purpose so they didn't make this version of Battle Armor He-Man completely obsolete. You know, they want you to pick this one up so you can get the cool glowy effect. But that is an option you have if you don't want to buy these two separately and want something that just comes with a little bit more overall. However, if you're interested in a more vanilla take on these guys without the added battle damage and changes, collecting these two figures is just as viable of an option. That's going to complete our look at Battle Armor He-Man. Overall, I really dig this figure. He does everything that the regular He-Man does and then adds some really cool play features. That whole battle damage chest armor thing just works so well. Like, it functions the way it should every time. It's a really neat way of, you know, letting you have some play value with your toys beyond just kind of smacking them against each other. You actually get to show them damaging each other if you're, you know, a kid using your imagination and stuff. So I really like it. I will say that the chest armor, it's a bit smaller than his regular, like, chest, like the muscles and the abs and all that. So it actually makes him look a little bit less buff. But I mean, I guess you could just chalk that up to him being kind of compressed in there, maybe. I don't know. I think they should have made it a bit bigger. But it's still really, really cool. I like the glow effect that he comes with. I'm glad he comes with the classic axe, or, well, at least the same one that came with Origins regular He-Man. I love the swappable heads. You get, you know, a more modernized one that has this really great, angry, just battle charge look to it. And then you get the classic head, which you can use for this guy, you can use for your regular He-Man, though there is a version of the regular He-Man that uses the vintage head now. So, yeah, that might be a bit redundant these days, because this guy came out waves before the new one. But it's still really cool to have either way. The tolerances are just as tight as they should be, so even though he's holding up this massive glow effect, he doesn't really have a very hard time holding it. If you're not careful, you can shake it out of his hand, because his grip's not very strong, or his wrist might spin downward a little bit under the weight, but I don't find too much of an issue posing him. So I think he's really good, being a deluxe figure, and him being kind of the first of that kind in Origins. He comes with a lot of extra stuff, so he is pricier. I think he runs, what, $20 as opposed to like the 15-ish, which is not a lot more for all the added features you're getting. So I recommend picking him up. He is still, even though I'm reviewing this kind of late, showing up in stores periodically. I've seen a fair number of Battle Armor He-Mans and Battle Armor Skeletors just on regular Walmart shelves. So he's not hard to find if you haven't picked him up yet. And he's a lot easier to find than that more Target exclusive version. So this might be the much easier one to get. So personally, I really recommend him if you're a He-Man fan, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this toy. Of course, that is just my opinion of this figure, so now I want to know what you all think of Battle Armor He-Man. Do you think he's better than, worse than, about the same as the regular version? Do you want to get this guy just on his merits, or as a completionist, or is he too redundant for you if you have a version of He-Man already? Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this review of MOTU Origins Wave 3 Deluxe figure Battle Armor He-Man. And with all that said, I will see you next time.